All right.
Are we going?
We're live.
All right, this week we are going to be doing 3 topics because I'm not sure we will be meeting next week because some of us will be out of town. I believe Logan is going to go first with topic 11 with the transitions with custom library.
Yes, and I was going to comment that I did because I know we have also 13, which is transitioning and animations. And I already did one talking about that with CSS transitions, animations, how to trigger them with JavaScript. Is just a different
Right.
but what I've got here for this one for number 11, let me pull that up real quick here. See if I can get to sharing a screen. Let me see here, just one second. Sorry. How do I do screen share? I go to settings. Oh no, it's off to the side. Oh, there it is. The little okay. Sorry about that. We're going. There we are. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do slideshow from current slide. So, can everybody see?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So DT, not just for slides anymore. Designing, defining, and triggering transitions without custom libraries.
So I have a question for you, Logan, and maybe everyone else knows the answer too. Without custom libraries, I asked him that question as well. I'm assuming that means you can't use libraries out there on the internet that people have created to make make a cool transition. We have to do it all ourselves. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I understood it to mean. Like the custom libraries were ones that were, specifically made, and I'll show some examples on here of like really cool things that you can do, like with more advanced knowledge. But yeah, this is going to be talking about just the basics right here, but then showing what else is possible. So first of all, so for transitions, this is about as basic as it gets, right? Like the click here thing. So transitions add simple animations to the code. Kind of gone over this before, but the change will happen gradually with a transition. But without a transition, it's going to be just more of an abrupt, sudden change. So you can see how, like this one starts as all blue, but then it doesn't just immediately turn white. I mean, this one still is a little choppy, but it doesn't turn just straight from blue to white. That you can see some parts of it changing before the rest of it. So here's so to create a transition, there are 4 things that you need to specify when you're going to create a transition. You need to specify the CSS property you want to receive the effect, the duration of the effect, the type of effect, and any optional delays before the effect begins. So I think a lot of those probably self-explanatory, and then there is just an example of some coding on the side, and this shows put in here just different options. So there's linear. Linear has the same speed forwards and backwards, but then there's ease, which is slow, then fast, then slow. Ease in, slow start, ease out, slow in, and ease in, ease out. It was similar to ease. I couldn't really tell the difference between ease and ease in out because they both looked exactly the same to me. And then this one lets you define your own values. Last one here. Here's another example of a tradition. So the types of transitions, we got within transition, you have 4 subtypes: delay, duration, property, and timing function. I'll go over those a little bit. Some more transitions, animations that you can do. So here's the sub-properties. Delay specifies delay, makes sense. And it does it in seconds. So it has like an S on the end of it. So you specify how long you want to wait after they click on it before something happens. typically you're not going to use this all too often because most people, they want immediate, confirmation that what they've clicked on something is going to happen. So it usually won't be more than a second or two, if at all, that you'll use it. But duration specifies how many seconds it takes to complete. So that's where you can get the timing down how you want it. It doesn't appear too fast or too choppy. Property specifies the name of the property receiving the effect, so that way it's not being applied to everything. And then specifies the speed curve with the timing function. So that's kind of like what we talked about. Let me see here. So see, here's the transition timing function. So it's the timing function. That's kind of what we talked about before with the ease in, ease out, all that stuff.
It's kind of like what that sun's doing right there. It starts rising slowly and then kind of goes up faster and faster.
Exactly. Then it eases back down.
Yeah.
And then all the clouds are moving at different speeds. You can see even some of the clouds look like they're picking up there at certain points. And so some of those could be with the like setting the specific speed. So it starts out fast and then starts to slow down a little bit. And so here's a wavy transition example. So when you click it and the whole thing is showing a new page, and you can go back, and so just transitions there. This is the most common way of triggering a transition is by hovering the mouse over the affected property. Another way is by actively clicking on the affected property. It says focus can animate the width of any element, and checked can animate checkboxes. So again, check's pretty niche, but when you want to animate a checkbox, that's the go-to one for that. The main ones you're going to be using, though, are the hovering and then active. And then for additional information on it, I found this was really useful at w3.org/tr/css-transitions-1/ animatable-properties. But that's pretty much all I have to go over. We talked about animations before, and this is just sort of covers the. I kind of breezed through that. Does anybody have any questions or want me to go back to any particular slide?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, sounds good. And again, I don't know how much of this will be covered again in the next one. I can go ahead and get out of screen sharing mode. Whoa. There we go.
All right.
No other questions then?
I guess not. It sounded like everybody
Perfect.
said. I mean, it seemed pretty simple to me. It's just knowing about the different sub things. I mean, hover and active are going to be the main ones you're going to be using there. We also want to know about delay, duration, property, and timing function.
All right, so I guess we'll move on to Jason, talking about design, defining, and triggering CSS3 transforms with custom library.
All right, sounds good. So we were wondering what the difference between transition and transforms are. Transforms use transition to, well, they rely on transition. You have to set a transition first and say that type of transition is a transform. And then you can go in and specify the transform. There's 2D and 3D properties that you can include to manipulate an element, but I'm just going to go over the 2D stuff here. And transforms are triggered when an element changes state, such as like a mouse hover or mouse click, or you can trigger them using JavaScript as well. So one of the first transforms, there's several different properties we can use. First one is scale. So we have here, say we have a square with the ID of square, we can change the size of the square by first setting the initial size. So we have a width and a height of 100 pixels. So that's going to make a square. we say transition is going to be a transform. So you remember we covered back in lesson 8 about, transitions and animations. So we're setting a transition, and the type of transition is transform, and it's going to be a 1 second long transform. And then we add our hover in here. So we specify the type of transform that this transition is going to use. We're going to say scale, and we're going to have a 2 second, or not 2 second, 2 times scale. So it's going to go from 100 pixels. When you hover over this, it's going to jump to 200 pixels. That would be double the side. You can also, in scale, if you just add one number in here, it'll do X and Y together at a 1-to-1 ratio, but you can do like 2 comma 1.5, and it would do horizontally 2 times and vertically 1.5 times. And I have some examples of these I'll show you in a minute. But so rotate is the next one. We still set the transition to transform, set the duration of the transform, and then when we hover, and you can put anything, you hover and click, you can even do this with JavaScript, like I said. We just say rotate, and then how many degrees we want to rotate. So that's 360 degrees, and then it'll end up. So if you hover over it, oops, it will go. It's not going to let me click anymore. Hover over it, it's going to rotate 360 degrees, then you go off and it rotates back. And you can do, it's going to go clockwise if you do a positive number, counterclockwise if you do a negative number. And you can rotate, like if you want to rotate around 2 times, that would be 720 degrees instead of 360. You can do any rotation you want. The next one is translate. The translate value moves an element left and right and up and down. So movement's based on X, which is horizontal, and Y, which is vertical. X plus moves to the right. X minus moves to the left. X plus or Y plus moves down, and Y minus moves up. Best way to remember that is, the upper left-hand corner of your screen is always 0, 0. So as you're adding X, you're moving right. If you're minusing X, you're moving back to 0, right? And then Y plus moves down, and Y minus moves back up to 0. So say we have 2 squares on top of one another. So if we have, say, like this one here is square 1, this one's square 2. So we can say square 2, we're going to add a translate 40 pixels by 40 pixels, which means it's going to move diagonally, so over 40 and down 40, but it's going to do it together. So it'll just reveal what's underneath it. So kind of a fun little tool there. Next one is skew. So skew will actually, slant, kind of tilt it to the right, to the left, or up and down on the X and Y axis. So X plus tilts left, X minus tilts right, Y plus tilts down, and Y minus tilts up. I have an example of that a little bit later, but you can use shorthand as well. If you want to rotate them both together, you can do just skew and put 25 degrees, and it will rotate X and Y 25 degrees, or you can say skew and do X and Y. Or you can actually, instead of skew, you can do skew X and tell it how many degrees, or skew Y and how many degrees. So as you can see here, if I go X 25 degrees, it's going to tilt to the right. And this, tilt to the right, and then Y is going to tilt down, which actually is kind of inverse of what that is. Anyway, you have to play with it. It's kind of fun, but let's see, transform origin. So it's not transform : origin. It's up here where we set the transition to transform. You have to put another line that says transform origin, and you tell it where the origin is. By default, like say when you rotate something, it's going to rotate around the center. But if I say the transform origin is left top, which is up here, then when I rotate 45 degrees, it's going to rotate around this point, not around this point. So it'll kind of do this. My animation doesn't work very well, but you get the idea. I'll show you in my example. But kind of cool that you can actually tell it where you want to rotate around or where you want to skew around, that kind of thing. And then transform. Oh, we can combine multiple transforms to create cool animations. So we could add in a rotate, a scale, and a translate, and it kind of does some cool stuff. So I'm going to show you just real quick a couple. This is the scale. So when you hover over it, just simply bigger, small. Rotate. So that's going to rotate 360 degrees, or actually it's 500 degrees, I think is what I put it in there as. That's the translate. So you can move anything. If you could put something behind it so you get a little reveal type of thing if you want. Skew X does that. Skew Y goes the other direction. And then skew, see, it's rotating them both. So it's doing the horizontal and vertical. So you kind of almost get a 3D effect, but this is the transform origin and rotate. So you can see it's just going around that upper left hand corner. You can specify upper right or top right, bottom right, whatever you want to do. And then this is multiple properties. You can do, that's rotate, scale, and skew all together. So anyway, that's kind of what the transform does. It works with that the other one we just talked about. What is it? Transition. It works with the transition. So you have to start the transition and specify that it's a transform type. And that's what I got.
Awesome.
Any questions?
I do not. Does anyone else?
No, those were awesome examples.
Thanks.
All right, and then we can move on to DJ going over topic 13 with animations without custom libraries.
Awesome. Okay, let's see if it works this time. Okay, hopefully this works. I changed computer. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I used a little animation for my animation presentation. Oh, cool, right? Okay, never mind. Anyways, moving on. So for the animations part.
Hey DJ, were you actually showing an animation? Because I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
Boom.
Sorry. Then I started talking to you and realized my mic was on mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just see the PowerPoint for.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all
did
I'm
you see
seeing.
my animation though?
We're seeing I don't know if you have the slideshow part showing. We see the non-slideshow, like the actual editing part.
Actual PowerPoint, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, come
Are
on.
you sharing the wrong screen? Maybe.
So let's see. I go in from current slide. Do I switch it instead of doing an application window? Do I do entire screen, I guess?
You could try the entire screen.
Yeah, that might be better. How's that? Did it go white?
Now
Yeah.
it's a white screen. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So here's my animation.
Ah,
Okay.
Anyways,
cool. Yay.
thanks, Jason, for being. Anyways, so animations, I mean, after watching all the presentations, honestly, I don't think there's much for me to cover. It's very similar to transition and transformation. So it allows animation of most HTML elements without using JavaScript or Flash. Although you can use JavaScript to trigger it, like it changes elements gradually from one style to another, just like transition and transformation. The important thing here is using keyframes. So keyframes are used a lot in videos as well, but what keyframe does is when you set a keyframe, it starts at one point and then it has to end at another point. So the idea behind that is using keyframes is there's certain area that you need to have animation start, and then certain point that the animation ends. And so there are a bunch of properties. Like I said, it's very similar. There's animation name, duration. So name would be you can actually name your animation. I'll show you an example code at the end, but duration, the unit is in second as well. And delay, you can delay the start point of the animation, or you can actually use negative value. So if you were to set animation delay to -2, it would start as if the animation has started 2 seconds ago. So that's the point that it would start. So you can set back and forth either positive value or negative value. Animation direction, animation timing function, same thing. Like Logan pointed out, to ease in, ease out, is in dash out. All those things work the same. Animation fill mode, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll try to explain towards the end about it. So, but just know that there are different values like forwards, and then there's backwards. Then you can do both, or you can do none. So keyframes, you can specify CSS styles inside the keyframes rules. So as you can see from the top, you have a name specified called my move. So in this one, the animation is going to happen from 0 pixel in left side to 200 pixels. So it's going to move across from left to right 200 pixel. Then in the div that you have your animation set, you can set your animation entirely instead of setting it individually by saying animation by move, and then this is how long it's going to be by saying 1 second. Then you can set numbers of how many times it's going to happen. So if you put 2, the exact same move is going to happen twice, or infinite, it's going to happen constantly, just nonstop. So then using JavaScript is, I have 2 examples there. You have one for WebKit browsers, and then you have one for anything that's not WebKit. Then IE 9 or below, it's not going to work. But you can set it as a style.webkit animation or style.animation. And then, as you set the animation values as string, and you put your name, your animation name, duration, and then how many times it's going to happen. That's a example. You can actually go and look. They have various examples that you can see as far as animations go. But so can you see both screens? The
Yes.
brackets
The
and
code and the animation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So here what I have is as you can see, I have it set as an example. That's my first animation that's going on right now as example. Then 4 seconds, that's how long it's going to take, and then infinite. So it's constantly going. And then I have from, like I said, there's a beginning point that it starts. Then 2 is where it's going to end. And that's how the animation is going to happen. And so I have it set as background color being red to changing to yellow. I have a width and height set as 100. The important part though here is that if you don't have the position as relative, the movement is not going to work. At the comment, yes.
It's
Oh no.
/star.
Okay.
/star, and then on the other end, it's star /. I don't know. I like it in JavaScript much better.
So see how the animation itself, the color is changing. However, it's not moving around because you need to have the position set as relative in order to be able for it to be able to move around.
Huh.
Yeah. So now I am triggering my function here called my function, and when I click this button, it's going to trigger an animation called my new move, and it's going to happen for 4 seconds, and it's going to happen twice. So I have my keyframe set, and here, I have it divided into pretty much 5 different sections, starting from the beginning, and then cut it 25% each until it reaches 100%. And I change the background color, and I change the location. So when I click it, it's going to switch moves around like that. And it's going to happen twice, and it's going to go back to the beginning, the current CSS that's set. So yeah.
And that's where your that other one you said you were going to talk about later. That comes in. What was
So,
it? Where it will stop where it left off instead of resetting back to the beginning.
yeah. So let's see, fill mode.
Yeah, fill mode.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
like I had a little person moving on a map, and so I would move from one location to another, following different, but then it would always jump back, and it's
right.
like, oh, but if you change the fill mode, then it will stay in its last position.
Right.
So it's like key.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
glad you touched on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy. You can just type CSS animations and then take you to W3 schools, and it's easily accessible. You can get there. Let's see. Last thing is just a simple example. They have animation like this. You can start an animation, bulb movement. Then last thing, falling leaves. Think them.
Cool.
So, but yeah. So that's pretty much it.
All right.
Awesome.
Does anyone have any
No.
other questions?
Nope.
No, really good.
All right, then I guess
Well,
we are
host-
done with the topics and won't be meeting next week. So we have time to work on the final
So,
project, I guess, or catching up on our projects.
So do we need when our meetings, do we need to continue to meet through the final project, or is this it? Like I don't know what his expectation was.
I mean,
My impression, I didn't think we had to meet.
getting together next Wednesday, just to see if anybody has any questions. It just may not be scripted.
Yeah.
It may not be as long as these are. It could just be to show up. Anybody have any questions on anything? Anybody need any help on anything? And then just kind of go from there. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and we can do that, or I mean, even if we discuss things on the chat,
Yeah, the
I mean,
chat.
that's
If we don't want to like all get together.
and if there's questions that people have, then I guess we can say, hey, let's meet. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to necessarily pick like the same time. I mean, Wednesdays at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time still works for me.
Right.
But we could just try and wing it. That sounds good.
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Yeah, that's perfect for me.
And can you guys all upload your presentation, the PowerPoints again?
I will.
Of course.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well,
Cool.
I think that's it for, I guess, tonight. And then if we want to meet or have questions, just communicate with email or chat that we're in.
Sounds good.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks. I'll need it. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.